I am about to break up with my boyfriend because he bought a car tire. And I don't think I'm being dramatic about it at all. It is important to note that there's actually a third person involved in this story, of course. And that is my boyfriend's best female friend, who, let me tell you, somehow cannot seem to do anything for herself because anytime she faces any minor inconvenience, she calls my boyfriend. A few nights ago, I was sitting on the couch with my boyfriend when he gets a frantic phone call from this girl, and she is devastated, in tears, like hyperventilating. And I am like very concerned. Like, what is wrong? She sounds like something horrible is happening. Turns out that she ran over a nail on the road. And it's not even like she was stranded anywhere. She made it home. She was sitting in her living room just crying about that there was a nail in her tire. Okay, like, yeah, it sucks, but like, not really the end of the world. So my boyfriend, being the hero that he is, rushes over to her rescue. He said it was to see if the tire was salvageable. It's not. There's a nail in the tire. She's gonna have to get a new tire. Like, what are you going there to do for her? He was over there for a very long time. He comes back a few hours later and he's talking about how brave she was being. She's being so brave. So brave. She's being so brave. And that, you know, he figured it out and he took care of it. Thank God. Thank God that my boyfriend was there to help her out. Because not like she's AAA or anything. She does have AAA. She could have called AAA. Something to know about me is that I have a rainy day fund. And anytime I have a little bit extra money or I get money for a gift, I put it into my rainy day fund. And that's literally just like if I want to go on vacation or do something special for myself, I'll dip into my fund. So obviously, you know, this whole situation, it stressed me out a little bit. And I decided that I deserved a massage. So I go to my bedside table and I grab the envelope that is supposed to have my rainy day fund money, except there was no money in there. Nothing. Like, not a single dollar. So I'm digging through my bedside table because there's no way there's a thief among us. There's not a thief in my household, okay? This rainy day fund has been there forever. Like, my friends know I have it, my boyfriend knows I have it, and no one's ever touched it before, so just really weird. Like, it didn't even cross my mind that somebody could have stolen the money just because, you know, maybe I expected the best. Wrong. That was wrong of me. So I rush out to the living room and I'm in tears. I mean, like, obviously, a ton of my money is just gone. And I run out to my boyfriend and I'm like, oh my gosh, have you seen my rainy day fund? And he goes, as a matter of fact, I have seen it. This man looks me dead in the eyes and tells me that he went into my bedside table, took out all of my rainy day fund, and used it to buy his best girlfriend a new car tire. So obviously, like, my first question is, why didn't you ask me if you could borrow the money or take the money or whatever he was planning on doing? And why didn't you tell me? And he was like, well, first, it was just an emergency. Like, she really needed a new tire because she needs her car to get to work and she didn't have the funds to get it. First of all, I see that girl's Instagram. She is out like 4 times a week. So if she doesn't have funds to get a new tire, it's because she doesn't budget. Like, okay, you cannot be going out 4 times a week and then being like, oh, like, I can't afford a new tire. And then he says, you know, you didn't actually need that money anyway. That's why it's a rainy day fund. It just made more sense to me. I thought it was the right thing to do to give it to her since, you know, she could like use that money for something she really needed. So whose money though? Not her money, not your money, my money. My money. It doesn't matter what I was planning on using it for. You can't just go, you stole my money. Now you may be wondering, why didn't my boyfriend just pay for the tire himself? It's because he bought a new Xbox. So he didn't have the income because he used his rainy day fund. I can't. I really need that massage now, but I can't get one. So then obviously I ask, well, when am I going to get paid back? And he looks at me dumbfounded and is like, paid back? What do you mean paid back? Oh my God, that's all you can think about? You are so selfish. I'm selfish? It's my money. It's not even like that girl's nice to me either. She is so rude to me every time she sees me. So it's like, I just don't understand. Like, I'm in the wrong. I'm the bad guy here. You stole my money. I truly never would have guessed that a car tire would be the catalyst to the end of my relationship, but you know, always expect the unexpected, and even though I kicked him out, don't worry, he has a place to stay because his best girlfriend has been so accommodating of him.
This is everything we know so far about the P. Diddy case and the allegations against him explained in less than 7 minutes. So it turns out that the red flags revolving Sean Combs, also known as P. Diddy Puff Daddy Puffy, have been prevalent since the start of his career. So it's shocking that he was able to get away with everything for so long. So Puffy actually started working in the music industry at a very young age and had his own record label, Bad Boy Records, by the age of 24. Diddy's label, Bad Boy Records, and a West Coast label called Death Row Records were rivals during the 90s East Coast, West Coast hip-hop rivalry, and what started out as maybe just friendly competition quickly turned deadly, and multiple people that were in the middle of it ended up being murdered, including Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls, and both of their deaths Diddy has been rumored to be in the center of since the late 90s. During Diddy's entire career, he's been sued and arrested for multiple violent crimes and has never been held responsible. He either was acquitted or the charges were dropped or he was able to pay people off. In one of these incidents, 3 people were shot in a crowded nightclub, and P. Diddy and his then girlfriend J-Lo were both arrested for it, but neither of them ended up serving any time. Since everything has come out, people have really been side-eyeing J-Lo and also anyone that used to hang out with P. Diddy and go to his parties. I honestly would not be surprised if P. Diddy is offered a plea deal and half of Hollywood end up getting arrested. When Diddy was 38 years old, he signed a 19-year-old artist named Cassie Ventura to his record label Bad Boy Records, and he was obsessed with her from the beginning. Remember, he's 38 and she's only 19 years old, and he would not take no for an answer. The two of them did date for about a decade, but I would not say that this relationship was consensual. This was definitely a forced relationship. He was able to pretty much dangle her career and all of her dreams in her face if she would not comply and obey him. Diddy would also force Cassie to take substances against her will and would often SA her. He would often also force her to take these substances and then sleep with other random men while he either watched or recorded them. These are what Diddy called freak-offs, and these would often last several days, and afterwards Cassie would need to be hooked up to IV liquids because she was so dehydrated. Just think about it. And we ended up finding out later on that Cassie was unfortunately not the only victim of these freak-offs. Cassie was also not allowed to work on her music, which was her passion, unless she participated in these freak-offs. Cassie was often also brutally beaten by P. Diddy if she would not comply, and in 2016, Diddy attacked Cassie in a hotel and then paid the hotel staff for the surveillance footage, which has now been leaked online. And in 2018, Cassie did luckily escape Diddy's abuse. And then in 2022, the state of New York passed the Adult Survivors Act, which gave victims a 1-year window to hold their abusers accountable, even if the statute of limitations had already passed. And this was the same act that found presidential candidate Donald Trump liable in an essay that he committed in 1996. So in November of 2023, under this act, Cassie filed a lawsuit against Diddy, and this would be the beginning of the end. In this lawsuit, Cassie accused Diddy of physical and psychological abuse as well as SA, also that he used to force her to take substances against her will and then force her to engage in SA acts with other random men. Also accused Diddy of trying to kill multiple people, including an incident where Diddy held a woman by her ankles off a 24-story building. Following Cassie's lawsuit, 3 more victims of Diddy ended up filing their own lawsuits against Diddy, and these were underage people accusing him of SAing them and drugging them. And then, like I'm sure all of you guys know, in March of 2024, Homeland Security got a warrant to raid Diddy's homes in Miami and LA in an SA trafficking investigation. They ended up finding and taking with them a lot of evidence. This was technology, this was recordings, and also infamously, they found over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant, as well as a bunch of adult toys. Extremely recently, on September 16th, 2024, P. Diddy was arrested in New York on charges of SA trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, plus some other charges. He has pled not guilty. He seems very confident that he will be found not guilty. So far, his bail has been denied, and the prosecution is very, very confident that they have plenty of evidence against him to convict him. If P. Diddy is found guilty, he is facing life in prison with a minimum sentence of 15 years in prison. And since then, over 120 victims, both male and female, have come out with their own accusations against P. Diddy, 25 of which were only minors, with the youngest being 9 years old. So this was actually really, really hard to research, which is why it's taking me so long to make this video. I feel like things are coming out every other day. There's also been a lot of rumors, but I do want to address 2 of those rumors. So we all know who Usher is. Turns out when Usher was only 13 years old, Diddy, who was an adult at the time, had legal guardianship over 13-year-old Usher. And there has been rumors that Diddy had essayed Usher when he was a child, literally 4 years. Also, when Justin Bieber was 15 years old, he used to hang out with P. Diddy. Allegedly, he would go to parties with P. Diddy when he was only a minor, spend days on days with him at a time. I've seen a concerning amount of people on social media say that Justin Bieber needs to come out and say if anything happened with him and P. Diddy. I hope I don't see any of those comments on this video. Victims never owe you a statement. Justin Bieber wants to come out and say something one day. That's completely up to him. The man has a baby on the way also, so please just leave him alone. Don't leave any of those comments here. I just wanted to address that because I've been seeing a concerning amount of people say that Justin Bieber needs to make a statement.
When I first went to prison, I noticed really quickly that I was going to need a watch. And the only way that you could have a watch was if you had one on when you came into the prison, because there were just a couple of things that you were able to keep, and that was like a wedding band and a watch. So it couldn't be like a smartwatch or anything like that, but just like a regular wristwatch. But I didn't come in with one, so I was screwed. Well, I was in line one day and we were going to chow, and behind me there was this little girl, and she wasn't a little girl, but she was young. She was short and she had like unruly, wild, curly red hair, and she was like kind of like round. And I was like, "Hey girl, what's up?" And she looked at me and her eyes were just like so big and scared. And I knew that she was kind of like brand new and scared. At this point, I'd already been there like 2 weeks. So I was like an old timer by then. And so I was like, "Why don't you just stay in line right behind me? And that way, when we go into the cafeteria, we'll be sitting at the same table because there's 4 people at a table and you go in by the line." She was like, "Okay." And so we get to the table and we start talking and stuff. And I asked her, I was like, "How much time are you doing?" Because you can't ask that. Like, it's okay to ask somebody how much time they're doing. You don't want to ask somebody right up, like, "What are you in for?" Like, so I asked her how much time she was doing. She said she was serving 3 months. And I was like, 3 months? Because you guys know prison time is different than regular people time. Like in prison, if you get sentenced to a year, then you might serve 5 or 6 months, or you might serve like 8.5 months, but you rarely serve the entire time day for day. So I was like, "Are you serving 3 months day for day, or are you about to get out?" She was like, "I'm actually probably going to get out before I even get put into a prison," because we were in receiving, which is like the prison that you go to before you go to prison. I was like, "Tracy, girl, that's what's up." Her name was Tracy. Well, I look over and she has on a watch. It's a silver wristwatch and it has like a butterfly on the face of the watch. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cute. That's so pretty." She was like, "Thank you." And then, time goes on. I don't have any money on my books. You can't buy things from the canteen unless you've been in receiving for longer than 4 weeks and you have money on your books. And then you can only buy things that are hygiene items. Like, you can't buy treats and candy and chips and stuff. You could just buy like shampoo, conditioner, soap, stuff like that. So a couple of days later, Tracy is complaining about how dry her hair is. We were only allowed to take 3 showers a week. They were 4 minutes long, and her hair was really dry and like just getting matted up. It was so curly. She was like, "I need conditioner so bad." And of course, we didn't have conditioner because we hadn't been in receiving long enough to go to the canteen. And I was like, "Well, let me see if I can try to find you." Meanwhile, my roommate makes cards. Like that is her hustle. She can draw and she like can write in like the most beautiful script. And she has been making cards. Well, she made a card for me to send to my son. And it was just beautiful. And like the way she had like written out his name, it was like in a circle. Like I can't even describe it. But we were allowed to go outside for 1 hour a day. And during that hour, we went into like this kind of like cage area. It literally was like a metal cage on the top, like a dog kennel. It was like a dog kennel. And like we would all go into this little cage for like 1 hour. Well, she made me that card and I took it outside and I was like gonna write in it, like sit in the sun and write in it or something. And there was this other girl. Now, this girl she had been in receiving for a long time, like 3 months. I have no idea why, but sometimes people just get stuck there. She sees my card and she comes over and she's like, oh my gosh, that is so pretty. Like my son, his birthday is coming up and I want to send him a card. Did you make that? I said, no, but I know somebody who does these cards. I was like, what do you have? She's like, I've been here for so long that I have hygiene items, but that's all I have to trade. Like, that's it. And I was like, do you have conditioner? And she was like, yeah, I have a bottle. It was like VO5 conditioner, and she had like 3/4 of it left. And I was like, okay, I think this girl will do a trade for conditioner. Like, let me see. So I went to Tracy and I said, would you trade conditioner for your wristwatch? And she was like, yeah. And so then I went to my roommate and I was like, would you trade a card for some conditioner? And she was like bored anyway. Like she would have done it for free, you know? And she was like, okay, yeah. And I was like, and this girl who's been here for so long, she basically knows everybody. And once people start seeing your card, it's going to get out and like you'll get more business. And she was like, all right, bet. So she made a card for the girl. The girl, I went and delivered the card to her. She gave me 3/4 of a bottle of VO5 conditioner. I squirted a little bit out into a cup for my roommate, and I traded half of the bottle of conditioner for Tracy's watch. And I kept that watch the entire time I was imprisoned. I still have it to this day.
I stalked my ex into getting back with me. Every time I see those TikToks that are like, oh, what's the craziest thing a guy has ever made you do? I win the Grand Slam Crazy Award at the tender age of 19. You know what they say about that one relationship at 19? Absolutely diabolical, psychologically unhinged. Yo, it does make for like great character development. I met this little boy. Okay, he was not little at all. He was a big boy. Towering over 6 foot, Igbo, muscular, Clark Kent type, a little small Igbo accent. Texas mixed with Igbo accent. It doesn't jump out, it's just like a little bit like That's my type so bad. I was just coming from high school. I ain't never seen nothing like this before. All the boys in my school like my height, all tiny, little voices. This was the first time I was actually like, this is a whole ass, man. Anyways, I was bewitched instantly upon sighting this Igbo king. I've never really been someone to date someone just because they're attractive. I used to be all about that whole bullshit of like, let our hearts connect. I just knew it was love at first sight. Apparently, he felt the same way. This guy would proceed to ask me out for a couple years, and I would literally say no until I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to uni. Sure, let's try this thing, Believe those people on TikTok. That relationship when you're 19 will almost ruin your life. I don't know if it's because like you're so innocent and your head's in the cloud. I mean, not you guys at 19 now. You guys are basically 19 going on 90 in 2024. Back when we was really 19, sounding like some auntie. Like back when we were really 19, your head was in the cloud. We were so innocent. You just fall in love with your whole heart, your whole mind, your whole soul. Men has come. Is that a drink? I never heard of her. Anyways, we got into the most diabolical relationship, the most romantic, heart over heels love. My head is in the cloud, butterflies. When you're in love and it's not just your heart, it's like all your organs, my kidney, my gallbladder, my freaking spleen. Every single fiber of being in me was in love. It was a long distance relationship, which means it wasn't real. I was literally in a relationship with an imaginary friend. I don't want to go too much into my opinions on long distance relationship, especially when you're 19. We didn't see for a whole year of being in the relationship. A whole year. This man lived in another continent. That's not a relationship, that's an affliction. How can you start letting affliction hold you from such a young age? I didn't even participate in my freshers week at uni. If you see me after class, running back so I can speak to my man. All of this didn't matter. I was in love, and the grand plan was that we were gonna get married anyway. So what would not seeing for 1 year do to me when I'm gonna see him for the rest of my life? That's what I thought. Until out of nowhere, homeboy moves to Nigeria. He was moving for his NYSC or something. Girl, don't quote me. I don't know. I didn't know much about what was going on. He was moving back. Whole time we're in this long distance relationship, this man like 1 month in, I love you, me too. Because I'm crazy. I'm not actually scared of love bombing. Why wouldn't you actually love me after 1 month of meeting me? And of course, I'm crazy. I'm going to match your energy. And I'm going to love you back. What the heck? 50 years from now, where the hell are you going to be? Who cares if you're love bombing me? He moved to Nigeria. So did his love for me move. Psycho was in love. Psycho was like, oh my God, perfect. He's moved to Nigeria. Now we're going to be able to actually do our love properly. Like, because now we have the same time zone. But we wasn't in the same mental zone. Because homeboy went cold turkey. Damn, yeah, big. This American accent, please let me stop it. Homeboy went cold turkey, no contact. He stopped talking to me. You literally just decide that you don't love me anymore? No, that's not possible. I was like, that's not possible. I was thinking 20 billion thousand thoughts at the same time. Is this man kidnapped? Because it was just out of nowhere. And I realized crying ain't gonna get me my man back. And clearly it's either he's been kidnapped or bewitched. I need to save him. I need to save us. President General amongst the nation. Right now I sit here as a semi-changed woman, not fully changed, but wondering, who was that? I decided to take matters into my own hands, do some social media stalking like everyone does, right? I had a team. I had a team of FBI friends. I and my team decide that we're going to go into extensive research. This is a whole investigation, because guess what? When he started tweaking, I'm literally a stomp out queen. Like, I be blocking. You got me to fall in love with you, and now you're trying to like just go. I'm going loco. In fact, I've already gone loco. I blocked him. I knew every single one of the 227 people he followed. I crammed everything. And I go every day to check if he's still following 227 people. One day, it had increased to 229 people. It was at that point in time in my life when I was Googling how to get over a breakup, 5 ways to get him back, how to manifest your man back. At this point right now, I've gone feral, absolutely feral. I need answers. I'm doing research. And I realized I haven't considered tech. So I start Googling how to hack an Instagram account. And I stumbled on this very, very fishy guy on YouTube. He's literally wearing an all black like, occultic outfit. And he has like almost voice. For some reason, I see that and I'm like, yeah, this is definitely the guy. And at the end of his video on how to hack, he says, if you need my services, contact me here immediately. I didn't even wait. I sent him a message. I said, please, I have a job for you. Don't judge me on that one. Homeboy, somehow, in the process of talking to this guy, I don't know, he starts liking me. This is a random white guy from YouTube who's giving tips on how to hack. I can't remember what we were texting, whether MSN Messenger or Skype, one of those messaging platforms. He gets upset at me since obviously he had started developing a crush on me. He goes ahead to block me.
Mother and mother-in-law are destroying my life and targeting my kids. Hello everyone, I'm new here and could use some advice. My mother-in-law, 80, is a real actress. In front of other people, including my own parents, she plays the sweet old lady. But behind closed doors, she is very dominant and wants to dictate everything. Example, she constantly tries to kiss the children on the mouth or eat from the same cutlery, which I don't want for hygiene reasons. She does it anyway. She drove us into debt, forced my then fiance, now husband, to take over his parents' house because she wanted to move into her dream house, and acted as if it was in great condition. My old sick father-in-law didn't really want to move away, but she controlled him so much that he agreed and died shortly after the move. We later found out that she had deliberately hidden defects in the house from us, otherwise we wouldn't have taken over the house, and we are now in debt because the very expensive repairs, my retirement savings, and my inheritance are gone. Damn. She constantly exceeds all the limits that I set, and it is now also affecting the health of my 3 children. We already had the problem with our first and second child that she wanted to take the 2 children to the playground. In reality, she took them to a restaurant and fed them a second lunch. She persuaded the children not to tell me or my husband about it. It finally came to light when the children suddenly started gaining weight and our oldest child confided in us. I broke off contact at that time. But everyone begged me to give her another chance. She was in tears and vowed never to do that again. 2 years later, she repeated that behavior with our third child by constantly pushing sweets into her. I then got the pediatrician on board, whereupon, out of spite, she started baking multi-tiered cakes every week and served it to the children. I then broke off contact completely. I have asked my husband so many times to help me and the children, but he is like his father. His mother and his sister can do anything with him, and he doesn't dare say anything. My children are now back to normal weight, and my life has become so much calmer if it weren't for my mother and my husband. They admit that my mother-in-law's behavior was not okay, but now they claim that I, gasp, clutches pearls, would torture my mother-in-law through no contact, and that you can't do that to an old woman. My mother knows the whole story of what my mother-in-law did and still stands by her. It has now gotten to the point where my mother talks to mother-in-law on the phone behind my back. They visit each other, and my mother brings mother-in-law gifts. Of course, the mother-in-law is acting out in front of my mother again and acts totally weak and destroyed. My own mother now treats me as if I were her enemy, and she verbally attacks me even in front of my children. My husband is a coward and stays out of everything. My father agrees with me, but won't help me. He even goes with my mother to visit my mother-in-law. Mother-in-law talks bad things about me to other people, and everyone believes her since she is such a sweet lady who goes to church every Sunday. What should I do now? Also go no contact with my mother? Sorry for the rant and the long text, but this had to get out.
Am I wrong for telling my daughter that I won't budge even if she never speaks to me again? My daughter Casey, 17 female, worked and saved up money for around a year to be able to afford a better car than we would buy her with our family budget. My older daughter Alana, 16 female, has ADHD. Recently got her driver's license and asked to drive Casey's car. Casey allowed it, but Alana ended up having a bad accident around 6 months ago, which basically rendered the car unusable. The insurance payout wasn't nearly enough to cover the replacement, and with Alana's medical bills from the accident, thankfully, there was no permanent damage, just a broken arm and leg. There was no way we could afford to replace Casey's car immediately. Alana was very apologetic to Casey, and so were we since we couldn't afford to replace her car. Casey didn't accept our apology and has been basically avoiding us, skipping family dinners and pretty much pretending that her mom, Alana, and I don't exist, and only talks to us if she needs a form signed for her school. I begged her to come to a family therapy session, and she eventually relented, but with the condition that Alana wouldn't be present. In the therapy session, she told us that she won't be resuming a relationship with us until we replace her car, which realistically won't be until next year. When the therapist asked how she expected us to do that, Casey said we could just make Alana work to earn the money. The issue is that Alana has severe ADHD and already has trouble managing her schoolwork. I'm worried that making her work to earn her money will harm her grades and have significant ramifications for her future. Casey said, well, she should have thought about that before destroying my car. I don't care. I'm not going to speak to any of you unless I have my car replaced. I responded that she was free to avoid speaking to me for as long as she wanted, but I'm not going to permanently harm her sister's future to get her a car earlier. My wife agrees with me that we need to stand firm on our position, but is also genuinely afraid of Casey never speaking to her ever again. I understand that her car was ruined, but I as a parent need to look out for all of my children, not just one. I also don't want to set that precedent that emotional blackmail will ever work if what you're asking for is unreasonable. So, am I the asshole?
My ex broke up with me the morning after our 3-year anniversary. So my ex and I were together for about 3 years, and we just recently broke up. I just want to say that I've always known I wanted to be a young mom, and so has he from the get-go. It's one of those conversations that we had like first date. This man was a complete mama's boy. I mean, I'm just saying this because I just think it's interesting, and I hear a lot of people talk about like how it's a red flag when moms are really obsessed with their adult sons. We fought a lot because I guess his mom didn't really like me, but it was never like something that would make us like think about actually breaking up. We had just come back from a trip. Everything went amazing on the trip, I thought, but apparently no, because the morning after we had just come back from vacation, he sits down at breakfast and he very coldly says, I think we should break up. Well, I thought he was joking, so I literally said, not funny, because I thought it was a joke. Now looking back, how embarrassing that like my boyfriend was trying to break up with me and I thought it was a joke. So then I see that he starts getting really serious, and he tries to explain himself. He's like, I've been lying to you for these past 3 years. I never wanted to have kids with you. And so that's when it really hit me, because he knows it's my biggest dream to be a mom. He said he never said anything because he knew that in the beginning, if he had told me that he didn't want to be a father, then I wouldn't have dated him in the first place. And that's true, I wouldn't have, because who in their right mind is going to waste someone's time like that? But now he's too guilty and thinks that I should move on.
So that's why he's breaking up now after 3 years. I was devastated. I started crying. I could barely even argue because I was done. Couldn't stop crying, and left the house and immediately called the landlord and put in the 30-day notice. I pack, I clean, I do everything. He doesn't move a finger. He only remembers that he has to actually pack to move the day before we have to get out of the house. The fridge was his, and I had bought a whole gallon of milk, and there was a chicken in the fridge. And then I thought, well, this is going to be the perfect petty revenge. I didn't say anything when the moving company was wrapping up his fridge because he was going to live with his parents, so I knew that they were going to put the fridge in his dad's warehouse, and the ungodly smell that would come from there, and nobody from his family, including his mom who hated me, would be so confused, like, what is this ungodly smell? So yeah, that's what I did. I mean, not the biggest revenge, but